going. All right, Ron, go ahead with your script.
Okay, good morning all. The call to order. The Board of
Okay, Ron, sorry to interrupt you, but we can't hear you. You are freezing up.
9:14.
Ron, you're locked up and we didn't hear a word that you said. So Ron, if you can hear us, you are frozen. We can all see each other. None of us are frozen, but you are frozen and we cannot hear anything that you're saying.
It might be better maybe if April just tried to call in through MS Teams, so it was just a phone connection and not through the video part of Teams.
Okay.
Oh, I can see you. You're moving again.
Okay.
Okay, try reading that script again.
Okay. Call to order. The Board of Denture Technology meeting is convening at 9:16 a.m. on Monday, September 27th, 2021, at the Health Licensing Office in Salem, Oregon, by telephone conference call. I will now call roll. Ron Ferris here. Todd Young.
Here.
Chris Chapman.
Here.
Grant Smith.
Here.
Okay. Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. The record, public members calling into the public phone line are asked to email April at April Fleming, State of Oregon, and provide your first and last name, public and interest parties. Feedback may be heard during the public interest parties feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. This meeting is called to order. So, prior to public interest and party feedback, at this time, Board of Denture Technology. Go ahead.
No, sorry, that's not until, you don't read that until we get down to item number 6. Right now we are on the agenda on item number 2, which is approval of the agenda. So if somebody other than Ron could make a motion to approve the agenda.
This is Todd Young, so moved.
Does that need to be seconded?
Yes.
Okay, second on the motion.
This is Chris. I second that.
Okay.
And then Ron, you need to take a vote and don't forget to call yourself. Okay, Ron, none of us got that, so that got logged out. So do you want me to do it?
We made the motion, it was seconded, and then I called for a vote.
Then now you have to call for a vote, and don't forget to call your own name, and you also have to vote.
Okay. And then we'll call for the vote. Ron Ferris, yay.
Todd Young, yes.
Okay.
Chris Chapman, yay.
Grant Smith, yay.
The motion's approved.
Yep, perfect. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is approval of chairperson. So currently Ron is serving as chair. You guys voted him in June to finish up the year. Doesn't mean you have to change it, but you do have to vote for chair for the next year. So this is for 2022. And so as long as Ron doesn't have an issue continuing being chair, you guys need to have a discussion or vote on it or whatever it is you want to do, but you do have to nominate a chair for next year.
I'm okay with it. With respect to Todd, had a comment that till the end of the year is fine. So if, as eloquent as Todd is and stepping up to the plate, I'm okay. I just wanted to make sure it was covered for now. Yeah.
I'm happy to defer. So that sounds great. So yeah.
Okay.
So we need to make a nomination, is what I'm hearing, Sylvie. So
Yes,
I
somebody
nominate
has to make a
Ron
motion in a
Ferris to
second. You have to do
serve.
the roll call and all that.
So my motion, this is Todd Young. I motion to elect Ron Ferris to be the 2022 chairperson for the Board of Denture Technology.
Do we have a second on that?
Grant Smith, I second the motion.
Okay. So then the motion will be up for a vote. I guess Ron Ferris, yay.
Todd Young,
Young.
yay. Yay.
Chris Chapman, yay.
Grant Smith, yay.
Okay.
Good job, you guys.
Yep. Motion approved.
All right, so next up is meeting dates for 2022. So we have picked February 7th, June 6th, and September 26th. All 9 a.m. and all Mondays.
Grant Smith, can you run those by me again?
Sure. February 7th, June 6th, and September 26th.
If it's a comment, Ron Ferris, I'm okay with him at this point in time. So, yeah. So
We need to make a motion. So this is Todd Young. I make a motion to adopt the proposed 2022 meeting dates. Do I need to read those off?
No, just need a second.
Grant Smith, I'll second the motion.
Okay. So motion approved, the meeting dates for February, June, and September. So a vote. Ron Ferris, yay. Todd Young,
Yay.
Chris Chapman,
Yay.
Grant Smith.
Yay.
Meeting dates approved as written.
Okay, so this is Sylvie. We're on the agenda item number 3, which is reports. So director's report. So as you know, we are right at quorum, always having quorum issues, and can't have a meeting unless all 4 of you can 100% participate. We have 3 vacant positions. We have tried repeatedly to recruit for, so if any input that you guys may have or any ideas, but we have 2 public member positions that are vacant and a dentist position that is vacant. So if anybody has anybody who they would like to send our way, please let us know. We've done tons of outreach and don't have anybody who's interested. So
I haven't forwarded any, but I've been thinking about it. Todd had some interest in contact of who. I hope we got that approved and he was able to forward the dentist that you worked with or something like that, or
I was just going to ask, what was there a conflict of interest? I've got a dentist that works with me in Salem 4 days a week. He's an independent contractor. He doesn't technically So he's not an employee, but he does work very closely with us at our Salem location. Would that be a conflict of interest with me being on the board and him being on the board? Okay.
I remember
his
that
name is-
last time, and I thought it was more of an advantage than a disadvantage. So I thought it was, you were good to go.
This is Bob.
Well,
Okay.
he's obviously has to submit the form, but I don't think, the
Correct,
governor's
okay.
office ultimately gets to make that call, but I don't think so because you don't have direct control over, you're not like his employer, being an independent contractor, and he's also licensed through a different board. So we don't have any authority to regulate, you know, that kind of thing. So I don't think that the governor's
Okay.
office would have an issue. So if he's willing to submit an application, you can either have him reach out to Paige or to Sammy. We can get him in the right, you know, if he has questions or wants to talk about stuff. And you just saw there's only 3 meetings next year, so.
I'll reach out to him today. His name is Dr. Todd Weil.
Okay, and Paige is on and Sammy's on. They're both listening, so.
Thanks.
And then public members, you know, if you have some, I mean, that one's always a hard one because, but again, we don't meet very often. It's only three times a year. And it's, you know, obviously via video conferencing.
So, I mean, obviously it'd be great if that person was a dentulist or partially a dentulist and had worked with denturists. Is there a potential conflict of interest if one of our patients served on the board?
Nope.
Okay. Bob's shaking his head yes. And Sylvie went,
I'm agreeing.
Oh.
I'm agreeing. The only conflict that Bob sees is if there's a complaint against Todd or
we lose
natural
two
dentures.
votes. Yep.
So
Yeah.
I mean, other than that,
Yep.
if we have enough people on the board, we can peel them off and still have quorum. So we've done it before.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, when there's it's a small community, and one of our other boards is even smaller than you guys are. And so that's where we know a lot about the conflict of interest because pretty much all those licensees know each other because there's less than 100 of them in Oregon.
Yeah.
And then their clients all are very familiar with each other too. So if there is an issue where one of the board members is involved in the case in any way, shape, or form, we just have that board member recused from that case. So we've had to deal with it, and we can deal with it if it comes up.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed this when we were discussing the meeting dates next year. Has the health licensing office gone to a Teams? Are all 3 of those going to be Teams? Are they going to be in person potentially? Or have they made the decision in next year's meetings be all online? And the reason I ask is just for getting people to and from the meeting. If we've got a Salem dentist and maybe a Salem public member, I know that you try to get geographically diverse on the boards as well, right? So,
Yeah.
So are we online next year or are we?
Most likely, we'll never be to where we're not online. So nobody's going to be forced to come into the office. And then also in order to come into the office, in which we haven't got that far yet, I'll talk a little bit more about it down on the COVID-19 update, but there's going to be some restrictions in place to be able to even come into the office. So.
Sure. Okay.
So, but Teams is not going away.
Okay.
Because we get more participation.
I'll reach out to a
that way
couple of
too.
our office managers.
Yeah, it's less expensive because we're not paying people to travel.
Yeah, ton of savings here. So,
yep.
And I would encourage the other board members to maybe reach out to a favored patient. If we can get an edentulous person to speak into it'd be even better. So,
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
And this is Ron, and that's good input because that would be one of the parameters. If they want to be a public member, they better be versed as well as us, if not better, in using this venue. If that makes sense.
They don't have to, but yes.
Yeah.
So Chris or Grant, did you have anything you wanted to add before we move on? It's easier because I can see the other 2 and I can't see you.
Nope.
This is Chris.
This is Grant.
Nope.
I have nothing.
We're good.
All right, so they're both good. So let's move on. Okay, so hopefully you guys have had a chance to review the statistics that we sent out. I'll just go through them quickly, but if anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to interrupt me and ask. We changed the format, made this a little bit more streamlined to where it's an automatic dump of information out of our database into a file, so that we don't have to rely on one person to do all these reports every single time you guys meet. It can be a little bit more automated. The first one just shows licenses issued, broken out by quarter. Again, our quarter's a little bit weird, but it does have the dates down there. And we're not issuing very many licenses. You guys are a very small group, not a lot of growth. The next slide shows licenses renewed, whether they renewed online or via paper. And even though we are in this pandemic, people still do the paper, but mainly online. Todd, do you have a question? Yes.
Forgive me. I don't think I must have. I don't have that. I don't have those files. The slides that you're looking at, and so
Yep.
I'm frantically looking through my emails, going, man, I didn't see this. So
it would have came from
did I miss?
It would also be on your Teams invite. So your Teams invite should have the material.
Am I the only one that's getting blacked out?
What'd you say, Ron?
Am I the only one that's getting blacked out? That's the second time that's happened where everything disappeared.
Oh,
And it says, hold on, we're trying to get you back in the meeting. So I probably missed the last 45 seconds. It seemed like an hour.
yeah, it's probably your broadband width, because none of us are having issues. We were just talking about the statistics and that Todd couldn't find the email that April had sent that includes the actual documents. So Todd was looking on in his email. So it should be Todd, so April would have sent you the MS Teams invite, and attached to that should have been the documents.
She's resending it now for him, so it should come up on the
Okay,
top.
yeah, I must have like seriously deleted it. So I don't know what it's gone. I don't know, maybe I was having a rough night or something. It was just yeah, but
so
okay.
April's
Thank
sending
you.
it to you right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's
go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm currently looking at the slide that says licenses issued by age and gender. So there's male, female, and other. So I've said this before, but if you do not want to choose or pick or select or designate male or female, you can either leave it blank or you can write in whatever it is you want to write in. And so that's what the others would be. You can see that this is a male-dominated field. And a vast majority of the licensees are 50 or older. Now I'm on licensing trend graph that shows the denturists and the different license types, and then temps and the trainees, and over time. So you guys are very, very steady, right at 115 to 117 licensees, and it hasn't changed much in a really long time. All right, now I'm on the slide that shows the financials. So this is broken out by fiscal year, which again, those weird years that start July 1 and end on June 30th. But it shows your beginning cash balance, the revenues brought in, the expenditures paid out, and then your ending cash balance. And then that ending cash balance obviously rolls up into the beginning cash balance for the next year, because this money just keeps rolling forward. It doesn't go to anybody else. And then you can see as of when this report was ran, what are we in, September? So it's probably as of August, you have a balance of 214. Anybody have any questions before we just go moving on?
No, I just think that the advantage there and the number being strong, I think realize that
anything that you just said? Nothing at all. So I'm not sure what you're saying. It might.
Ron, can you turn your video off, or do we have the ability to remotely turn his, because that it's got to be a bandwidth issue.
Yeah, it's his bandwidth issue. So it's him
Correct.
trying to send and receive all of us.
So this is Bob. I have a toggle on mine, but it'll show, it'll turn everybody's off though.
Right.
Okay.
We can't hear anything you're saying, Ron. You're cutting in and out. It's really wishy-washy. We can't. You're not. It's not working, Ron.
Well, now what do we do?
Well, we have to wait till he gets reconnected. I think Bob's talking to April about calling him.
Okay.
So that we can get him on the phone like Chris and Grant are.
Perfect.
Are you there?
And April, thank you for sending me the materials.
Ron, you're
Yeah.
moving. What were you saying now?
You guys were moving. Well, I was doing a compliment on the report, but what I finished was, so this doesn't keep happening, is there a way that maybe we can switch to a phone or something to make sure that it's not a problem on my end? I'm okay with that. Yeah, because the inconsistency is difficult for everybody, especially me.
Yeah, Ron, that's what our IT guy just texted me and suggested, that you go to MS Teams and call in.
Bob, do we want April to call him, or does he need to call into the Teams meeting?
April will call.
Okay, I'll give you a number. My cell phone's right here would be best.
I think
Ready?
Bob, his cell phone number's on that sheet, right?
Yeah, it's on here.
Yeah, Ron, we have it. Just hang up. We'll call you.
Hi, this is Ron.
Hi, Ron.
We
Ron,
can hear you
us?
now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh, you sound great.
Oh, much better.
Yeah, well, as long as it's consistent like this, we'll do great.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So, Ron, we totally missed. I know that you had made some sort of comment when right after I talked about the financials, and we did not hear, other than a bunch of mumble jumble, of what it was that you were trying to say. So, do you mind repeating that, please?
Yeah. Well, I was complimenting the numbers that they're that 214, and I think during the last meeting we came up with a couple. One of it was that a lot of the licenses were done online, which had something to do with, because it was cheaper to do it online. And I'm trying to remember what the second one was, but we're just trying to justify the increase from 208 to 214 in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, and because if you look at the expenditures and the revenues, so obviously your revenue, which is the money we're bringing in, is more than the expenditures. And so one of the things that we need to do, and we have been doing, so you see there in 2021, the revenue brought in is only 16,000 versus in 2020, it was at 31. So your revenue has gone down. So we've already started to address that. And so
And that was part.
We get it a little bit more stabilized, but we'll see and monitor it.
Okay.
Okay. So let's move on. Bob, we're on the regulatory report. If you would like to go ahead and take over.
Sure, thank you. It's Bob for the record. So currently on the regulatory report, we've got 3 biennia. 2017, we still have 1 case open that was pretty complicated, and one of the cases open still in 2019 is a bleed over on that particular case. So we have 1 open in 17, we have 3 still open in 19, and currently 4 for 2021, and hopefully we'll knock that down to 3 today. Any questions, concerns?
Ron, not at this time.
Okay, so then next in there, so
Hey, Sylvie.
you guys, if you were able to review the documents at all, there's a copy of an email that we sent out. So we have an email blast that we can send out to all licensees. And so we were interested in back in June of getting some subject matter experts that help with cases. And then, so Bob, you want to give an update on how that's going?
I will, yes. So I have one individual currently, we're working on his contract. I got an email this morning for a second. So I have 1 in the Portland metro area, 1 over in the Ontario area whose contract was going to start today. I'll send up the request. And then I've got 2 folks down the I-5 corridor towards Medford, Cave Junction that have expressed interest. And so I've been working with them. I tried to do a Teams meeting with all of them at once so I could share all at once what the expectation is. And well, that fell flat on its face. But anyway, so I'm calling them individually to make sure they are 100% aware of what is expected of an SME. And at this point in time, of the 2, one that's in contract and the other one that I'm going to work on today, they don't have, so they're employees of bigger companies. So they're not going to, we don't have a place currently if they had to actually do an exam of a complainant if we had to. So that's the most difficult part of finding an SME with that type of space. So it'd have to be someone who owns their own company or whose employer is willing to let them use office space. So in that geographical area. So and that's my goal, is to try to get 1 at least in, if you split up the state in quarters, to start there, to have them all over the place, just in case. Any questions on that?
This is Ron, not at that time. It's just having the SMEs local in the area where the incident is. Was there an advantage in the past that the SMEs not necessarily be in the same geographic area where the incident happened? Sometimes off the grid a little bit might be advantages.
Well,
what's the thought?
The disadvantage is if I have my SME in the Portland area and the complaint is down in Roseburg, trying to get them connected if the SME had to actually needed to do an exam. When we had Shauna, I think she did one or two. It was a lot of juggling to try to get done. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, but just having somebody to run case information by and talk about practice standards and the community standards, it's beneficial. I mean, at least to have somebody to run the information by.
Yeah, and I remember being an investigator years ago, there was always that you want to take the case or do you have a conflict with the case on who the provider is.
Right.
And so those, they take a case by case basis and all parties agree to be involved. So that's
Right.
a good thing. I mean, that's right?
Yes, and you're 100% correct. That's one of the things that we always have in the back of our mind and we bring forward is in the geographic area. It's a competitive business. We understand that. And does our SME have an axe to grind or some sort of conflict potentially with our respondent of our investigation? So, yes.
Okay. Well said.
Anybody else? Any concerns, questions? Okay.
Great job recruiting that many folks, Bob. So that's huge.
That's
So, great.
well, we with the small boards, it's challenging. That's why I try to have more because we've had cases where SMEs were the subject of an investigation, and then we just can't use them anymore moving forward. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Sammy, are you on there? Do you have anything under policy report that you would like to discuss?
Nope, I'm free and clear. I got nothing.
All right, we will move on then. Next slide is the COVID-19 update. Okay, couple little things. So the governor came out with a projected reopening date for state offices to be January 1. Obviously, we won't be open on January 1 because it's holiday. So January 2nd. So we currently are open by appointment only because we have to be able to test people, but we also have to be able to make sure and do the social distancing and all that. The other thing that I've just recently worked on is all contractors that we contract with, including SMEs, have to fill out a form that basically says either they've been vaccinated, everybody in their office has been vaccinated, or anybody who will attend, because it's kind of a generic form, so it's not just for SMEs, but anybody who is on that contract who comes into a state building and does work with a state worker must be fill out that form. So either that or a picture of your vaccination card. The point being is I'm assuming that because she has made it mandatory for all state employees to be vaccinated by a certain time, and that kind of keeps wavering depending on the union you're in. But so the point of this is I'm assuming that over time there's going to be some sort of form that board members are going to have to fill out in order to attend in person. Obviously, attending via teleconference or the video conferencing, you're not exposing anybody to anything. So that's kind of why the MS Teams will never fully go away, for one, but also for the lack of having to pay for travel. And people will participate more if they don't have to drive all the way up here for an hour-long meeting that, takes an hour and a half to drive here and an hour and a half to drive back for an hour meeting. It's just, this makes it much easier. But I anticipate at some point we're going to need to get some documentation regarding vaccination status and to have that be attached to board members' files. And not having proof of vaccination, I would assume at one point would also make it to where you would not be able to enter the state building, but we'll see how that goes. Any questions on the COVID-19 stuff? All righty. Let's move on. So we are on item number 4 on the agenda. So Ron, that is your executive session. So if you could find the script that talks about entering executive session.
Okay. Yeah, this is Ron. Entering into executive session. The Board of Denser Technology will now meet in executive session pursuant OR 192 for the purpose considering information exempt from public disclosure at time. This is 9:49 p.m. on September 27th, 21. Representatives of the news media shall be allowed to attend the executive session by conference call and will be provided further call-in instructions shortly. The public phone line will be muted for the duration of the executive session. Are there any representatives of the news media on the public phone line?
No, there is not.
No. So I read the no. Recognizing there is no news media in attendance, the public phone line will be muted for the duration of the executive session. We will return to open session before taking any final action or making any final decisions. We are now in executive session.
The recording needs to be turned off.